Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Toby Boyer. I'm the Watershed Specialist and the Education Coordinator here at the Clinton County Conservation District. Today, in observance of Earth Day and Conservation District Week this week, we wanted to put out a video on how to plant a tree seedling. So first and foremost, I'd like to talk about transportation and storage. Whenever you go and purchase your tree seedlings, you want to make sure that before you leave with your seedling, the roots are kept nice and moist. This is extremely important because if the roots dry out for any reason, whether that be being out of a moist environment too long, exposed to the air, exposed to the sun or the wind or anything like that, there's a good chance that your seedling may die. So before you leave, you want to make sure that whoever you're buying the trees from has packaged them properly in some type of moistened material, whether that be something like sphagnum moss or something like we use here at the district that's just cheap and quick and easy. These just shredded, basically just shredded paper here that we put in some water. What that does is it keeps those roots of your tree seedlings nice and moist, and it makes sure that they don't again dry out. So today we're going to plant a white pine seedling here at the Clinton County Conservation District. When you're planting a seedling, the depth of the hole that you want to plant it in is extremely important. You want to make sure that you don't plant the seedling too deep, because if you do, you're essentially burying it alive. If you plant the seedling too shallow though, there's a chance that the roots here on top could become dried out when exposed to the air. So you want to make sure you get the exact depth. A trick that I like to use when I want to figure out how deep I need to plant my seedling is to take a look right above the roots here. So a lot of the time it's hard to tell on this seedling because it's a little bit dirty and muddy, but a lot of the time there'll be a change in color between the roots and the actual stem of the seedling. But again, the roots will appear a little bit lighter, and the bark on the stem will actually appear a little bit darker because that's what's been above the soil when the tree was in the nursery. You can also do a little check to see if there's any dirt particles, and when you start seeing a lot of caked up dirt, sometimes you can tell that's exactly where the tree's been in the soil or started in the soil at. So if we come over here and take a look at our hole, you want to use a spade or a digging bar, and all you want to do is make sure you're pushing it down to the depth of your roots and rocking it back and forth until you get about a 45-degree angle. Sarah, if you want to come in here and show them the hole. So I'm going to have Dustin help me here. When I put this tree seedling in, again, I'm going to make sure I get the correct depth, make sure all the roots get down in. And so the way that you want to cover this up is you want to take the digging bar or the shovel, get it down in, and you just want to rock it back so that you're covering the seedling. And that's perfect, Dustin. So in the end, you want to make sure that all this loose soil on the top is pushed down and packed down around your tree seedling. And there you have it. And that's your planted product. So most people believe that they need to water their tree seedling entirely too often. In reality, if you water your tree seedling too often, what will happen is your roots will grow very, very shallowly, and they won't extend straight down to go deeper into the ground. And this is a problem because when you get to a point in time where you may have a drought year or a few months that you're pretty low on water and it doesn't rain very often, your tree could die if the roots aren't deep enough to get that water out of the ground. So what you want to do is you want to very deeply water your tree, but do it every 7 to 10 days. A lot of that depends on the species. Doing that will allow your roots to grow normally, extend deeper into the soil, and therefore will help your tree in the long run if you do experience drought conditions. The final topic that I'd like to cover today is the topic of protection for your seedling. Once you've planted your seedling, you want to make sure that it survives. And there's a few things that you can do to help its survival rate. So the first thing that you can do to protect your tree seedling is around the circumference of your tree, you could cover the competing weeds or plants, block out the sunlight, and ensure that nothing else is growing in that section near your tree. You can use materials such as gravel, like I have here in my hand. You can use mulch. What that does is, again, it blocks out the sunlight. It doesn't allow any other weeds or plant growth around your tree. So then your tree is not trying to compete with other plants for nutrients, for water, for sunlight. So as far as keeping out animals, such as deer and rabbits and other small mammals, and keeping them away from your seedling, you can use any type of wire mesh fencing. Just if you're trying to keep deer out, make sure that it's tall enough so that they can't get their heads in to eat your seedling. If you're trying to keep smaller mammals out, make sure that your fencing is secure to the ground using the lawn staples or any type of material that you can ensure no critters will be able to get through your or underneath of your fence. So the first few years after you've planted your seedling are the most critical. That's when you want to really be watching your tree for pests, diseases. You want to look for things like yellow leaves, holes in the bark, in the leaves, in the branches. Anything like that will tell you that your tree may not be in great health. If you've taken the steps in this video seriously, and you've taken your time and followed each step very carefully, and your tree seedling still is not doing well, there may be a problem of compatibility between the tree that you're trying to plant and your soil. Some trees like a more well-drained soil, while others like a wetter soil. Other trees may prefer a pH lower, a little acidic. Some prefer a pH that's a little bit higher. So again, it depends where you're planting. If you're planting on a slope or in a low area where water tends to hang out and pool up, you want to take into consideration all things before you just give up. Maybe another type of tree would work better. So you want to do your homework a little bit before you go and actually purchase tree seed.